Data centers are often referred to as the physical backbone that stores, operates, and delivers every digital service we use.
So where does it store and how do you retrieve it? But it's actually not in the cloud. There's actually a physical place where they store the data. Today the world uses more data than it ever did in its living history. If you're looking at hyperscale, it might go up to even 200 acres. To run the data servers, it requires a lot of power. It's not eco-friendly. Do you really require to hold on to all the data? Is WhatsApp data as important as Aadhaar data? Your data is the price you're paying. It is being driven by data addiction.
As digital consumption accelerates, so does our need for infrastructure that supports it. Welcome to PropSutra with Balaji Rao. I'm Neha Mahendra, and today we're discussing data centers. We're talking about its growing relevance and looking at it from the lens not simply as technology facilities, but as institutional grade real estate and infrastructure investments. Let's get in. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
Today I'd like to talk to you about data centers. Data centers are often referred to as the physical backbone that stores, operates, and delivers every digital service we use, whether it's banking, e-commerce, AI, cloud computing. So to begin with this episode, I'd like to first understand what data centers are, how are they different from other centers that we've had up until now, and why has it suddenly gained so much importance?
Okay, so you see, you have to understand the evolution of information technology also.
Okay.
When we first started this whole revolution in the 90s, 80s, 90s and all that, you had these large mainframe computers running. Then you had the small PC, personal computer, which was a big breakthrough. And in that personal computers, you had a monitor or a visual display unit. And we had something called CPU.
Correct.
A central processing unit which had all the... So it was more isolated, whatever data you were using.
Yes.
And what you were processing and maybe applying for your business functions.
Right.
But as we progressed, what started happening is the whole concept of cloud computing or virtual storage started. That means services came up where they said, why do you have to have, you just take from us on a subscription basis or otherwise, whatever service you require.
Right.
So if you look at a typical Gmail, which we use, or most people use, you're not needing to store the data. Gmail stores it for you somewhere.
Right.
So where does it store and how do you retrieve it?
Okay.
So that everybody would say, okay, it's in the cloud, but it's actually not in the cloud. There's actually a physical place where they store the data.
Okay.
And is connected via cables and routers and switches back to you as to when you need it.
Okay.
So when you get onto it again, you will be able to log in and retrieve your data, and store the data. So now the question comes, where does all this data go?
Yes.
So it started having even in, even in an office, when you wanted your private, you'll have a server room you used to have.
Yes.
Where in a particular room which is cooled and chilled 24/7, there were servers kept for your own data.
Yeah.
Now those became slowly that somebody else said that I will maintain the servers. You can access it from here.
Right.
Because this improved because of all your fiber optic cables and your networking.
Right.
As that improved, you said you don't need to sit next to your server, next to your data storage unit.
Right.
Okay. So all the servers then went somewhere else, and you had a server farm or whatever we called, where everyone's server was there and it was co-location. You could keep your server, somebody else could keep their server and so on and so forth. Or you were an enterprise unit which said, I will give you storage space and everything, and I'm the major server, like your Google or your Microsoft or your AWS or what.
Yes.
They'll give the thing. So where do all these servers sit? The data center is the ultimate culmination of this physical manifestation of all your servers, routers, switches, mainframes, whatever you want to have, it sits there.
Okay.
So when it sits there, then the question comes in, it needs a lot of facilities.
Right.
Like it needs a lot of power.
Yes.
Because it keeps on going on. It needs a lot of water for cooling.
Right.
It needs to be at a particular ambient temperature.
Yes.
Okay, so it requires security. It requires to be connected by cables so
Yes.
that it can give back the data as when somebody wants to retrieve it or use it. Correct?
Right.
So you were looking for locations
Yes.
which were big enough, not only with the power and water supply, that's infrastructure, but also where the submarine landing and all that used to take place of the cables. Yeah. So
Understood.
this is a typical data center. And what is happening, if you see in the world
Yes.
all over, and in most industries it will slowly happen, is you do not have to buy an asset.
Okay.
What is happening is you rent it. So that's why the software as a service, storage as a service. You're not holding that server or data anymore.
You're just renting.
You're
as
just
per need.
renting it out and paying him pay as you use, which everybody thinks is fair enough. But the downside of it is if he raises the prices, you are a captive of that.
Right.
Unless you can move to a competitor. But plus or minus, this is here to stay.
Right. But also it gives you flexibility as if you're unsure about your server needs, your space, your needs for space.
Sure, I mean, it can grow.
Yeah.
And see, the question they say is you focus on your business and we will focus on our business. So if our business is to run a data center, he says, I will maintain the data and you can take it back whenever you want. No?
Right.
I'll bring it back to you. Now, with that data, what you do, he's not interested.
Right. So how are data centers generally classified in India?
See, you have the small data centers, which are known as the edge or, the micro data centers. You'll have the slightly larger ones, which all data centers are classified as per the electrical consumption.
Okay.
So you'll have that 1 megawatt or below. You'll have about the 1 to 10 megawatts. Then you'll have the 40 megawatts. And then you'll have the hyperscale, real large ones of 100 megawatts, which the Googles of the world use. And even biggers are being planned as to whether you can have 1 gigabytes and everything of server space.
Okay. So what role has cloud computing, AI and 5G played in accelerating the growth of data centers?
See, the way it accelerates is if your transmission speeds are faster, then you don't need to be here.
Right.
See, when electricity started, maybe the generator was next door.
Yes.
But suppose you have a power grid and it can come equally fast. The generator can move away and there is a transmission and distribution.
Understood.
You understand? So all these which increase the speed of transmission can make your generation go further, your storage go further. And also because of that, you're using more and more data. I think today the world uses more data than it ever did in its living history, correct? So that sort of a data, where do you hold it? Now, whether you need it or not is a secondary question.
Yes.
But you have the data and you want to store it. It's like you not wanting to get rid of your data. You want to keep it all in your garage or your basement or loft or whatever it is, but you want to hold on to it.
Understood. So what makes India an increasingly attractive destination for global data center investments?
See, what is happening in India is we are becoming more and more from agricultural to a service-led economy.
Right.
Though we are trying to be very good in industry and manufacturing, naturally our neighbor China has a predominant pole position.
Absolutely.
It almost controls 50 to 60% of production of most of the items. So we are trailing in manufacturing and we are trying to do a catch up. But what we are really leading very strongly in is service.
Understood.
That means we have the people to really serve, to do whatever you want.
Okay.
That was the one when in 2000 we started with the Y2K crisis, went into call centers, went into BPO, KPOs, and today the new word is GCC.
Right.
Global Capability Centers, that if you are a big company anywhere in India or abroad, you need some sort of a back office which is running all your mundane operations, or sometimes it can be doing research and development, sometimes it can be doing cutting edge technology work also.
Right.
Could be. Whatever it is, here are the people who are smart, who are diligent, who will have a work ethic and who will do it for you. So suppose if that is the thing which we are becoming, that means they need data to use it.
Yes.
And if I need data to use it, what most countries are now saying is the data should be close by.
In India
In
itself.
India, in situ. So whatever happens, then what you need are data centers to supply, to keep, to store and to retrieve whatever information you want for these GCCs to work effectively.
Understood. So my understanding in what you're saying is that because as we're growing as an economy with our service sector, we need more data, more server space.
Of course.
And therefore it makes sense to build that in-house rather than to...
It doesn't make sense to build in-house. What I'm saying is, if I'm using a lot of data, it's better if the data center is as close as possible. Right. It cannot be very far away. It can be brought with speed, but it is much better if it is closer. Okay. Now, it cannot be really next door.
Yes.
It can be 1,000 miles away. It can be 100 miles away. Right. So, but the closer it is, the better it is. That's what it's trying to say.
Understood. All right. India is currently witnessing one of the fastest expansions of data center capacity in the world. Currently, our landscape crossed about 1.5 gigawatts of operational load, and this has been spread across 130 to 150 centers per se. Now, according to an article by the Economic Times, we are on track to increase this capacity to 1.7 to 2 gigawatts by the end of this year. Now, this is what we're planning. This is what's already in place. I'd like to understand how much space is typically required to build 1 megawatt of data center capacity.
See, 1 megawatt of data center might be housed in just about 10 to 12,000 square feet.
Okay.
But that's just the housing of the servers and the switches and the routers. But it requires even open space for the other infrastructure.
Right.
So generally, we would say that you would require at least 1 to 2 acres, to have a few megawatts of power. And if that increases to say 10 megawatts, we generally would even push that to 20 to 40 acres based on future expansion plans and how much of a safety we require for the other equipment, support equipment also. Because you need the cooling equipment, you need the power generation, as I said, you require the firefighting, fire containment, you require the secondary backup. Because most data centers, the whole problem is there's always a redundancy which is built in.
Okay.
Because you don't want the downtime to be anything but a decimal point.
Okay.
You understand, literally.
Yes.
So you want it at 99 plus.
Right.
Running, you understand. So you naturally have a lot of redundancy. And as you have said earlier, you need expansion because he's in the business of data centers also. So he will need to expand. So generally, if you're looking to put into a mid-level data center, I would feel you should look at 30, 40 acres. Okay. If you're looking at hyperscale, it might go up to even 200 acres.
Okay.
A larger data center. But if you want a very small one, it can go into 2-3 acres also.
Okay. And what's the average cost of capital to develop the same?
See, abroad it is very expensive because of the cost of land and everything. Okay. And they almost talk about each megawatt anywhere around $8 to $12 billion. Okay. In India, it is slightly cheaper. We can do it with about 60 crores, which is about, let's say, $600,000 per megawatt. So we are slightly cheaper, but it still costs that much.
Why do power and electrical systems account for such a large share of the construction cost?
Because to run the data servers, it requires a lot of power. You understand? And then you have the power which you require for running the cooling equipment. Then you need the water to chill for the chillers. So you require all this because it creates a lot of heat. It's not eco-friendly. So you're trying to make it eco-friendly by using renewable energy and recycling water, but still it's not eco-friendly. So somewhere there will be a debate on an environmental front as to how much data do you really require.
Right.
And how much should we consume by way of power and water to maintain the data? It's like, I think tech people don't understand this. Non-tech people, I think we have to think about it. Do we require all the data? Like in a house, if you ask a kid, he will say he requires all his toys. He doesn't want to give up on his toys or any book. But some adult will tell him, no, you can part with these books and maybe when you want it only you can go to a library or something. So you need to do it because right now we are in this mad rush to create content and to hold on to the data.
Right.
You understand? Think about a app like WhatsApp.
Yes.
Okay. WhatsApp, bulk of the people are in India, the users.
Yes.
And in India, there are 854 million WhatsApp accounts running.
Wow.
For a population of 1.4 billion. You wonder, because if you remove all the kids and everything, that means everybody is on WhatsApp.
Yes.
And if you're on WhatsApp, you're storing data.
Yes.
You're retrieving data. How many people clean it up? And somebody is holding it for you.
Yeah.
And you're retrieving it whenever you want.
Correct.
So all these add to the data accumulation spree we are on.
Understood.
So if I want to bring a different dimension, sometimes you have to wonder, do you really require to hold on to all the data?
Right.
But we do at this point of time. They say data is oil, data is king, data content is king. So, hold on to everything, and we are going to use our LLMs to figure out how AI will come up, generative AIs, robotic AI. So we are all going down that line. But this will have a cost on environment.
Do you anticipate any laws coming into place that might hinder the growth of data?
There are already environment laws because, see, we are already in a water scarcity. India is a water scarce country.
Right.
The per capita water requirement for us is going down. And this requires millions of liters of water in the data center. Is it necessary? Yes, it is necessary. But is it absolutely essential and critical? Sometimes you have to think about it because a lot of data might not be essential and critical.
Right now, the largest concentration of data centers is around Mumbai and Chennai. Why does proximity to connectivity such as submarine cables play such an important role in the location of data centers?
Because, see, it is triangulated. You need power and you need water, which is there maybe in most places. But you also require to be where the submarine landing cables are there because you have to send the data back. You're getting the data, you're holding it, and you're sending it. It's a constant flow.
Right.
So if you're not there, again, you're having a connectivity. No?
Yes.
If I go further away. So I have to be there where the data is coming in and going so that whether it's a consumer or a sort of an enterprise producer, he uses it.
Right.
So I think it's a triangulated thing between all the three. And that's why where Mumbai and Chennai have the maximum landing of the submarine cables, we see a clutter of data centers today.
Understood. How does the cost structure for data center differ from an office or a logistics asset?
Oh, it's very different. See, in a data center, it's more infrastructure-led.
Okay.
In a logistics, it's more on the base shell and moving equipment and the racks. With data center, though we have server racks, but that's not what is really expensive. Expensive is the power and the water, which costs almost, it'll take about 60 to 70% of your cost, the infrastructure itself. Right. So that is the main expense of a data center. So we call it infrastructure-led real estate development rather than this service-led or finish-led real estate development.
All right. Why do data centers deliver higher yields compared to traditional commercial real estate?
See, they develop usually a model because these infrastructure enhancements, if you do, they are there for a longer term. So you need to have a commitment. So usually data center rental terms are longer. Okay. They have to give a higher price because of the cost of infrastructure they're bringing in. So at the moment, if you ask me, the demand is more than the supply. Okay. And that's why the yields are higher.
Right.
Will this come down a little bit? Yes, over time it will come down.
Yeah.
But will it always be, say, around, in my opinion, they'll always be hovering around 10 to 12%. Today it might be a bit higher, but it'll always hover around that. Because it's an expensive one, because it's on actual infrastructure. Okay. Land as well, and it's mostly horizontal. Okay. Though we can't do stacks, it's never really recommended. It's more horizontal.
Okay. So to summarize this segment, we've understood how much it costs, that it's infrastructure-led. Now I'd like to move on to the market outlook and where we see this going in the future.
Sure.
Right. So various market reports forecast that India would have a total capex requirement of close to 20 to 25 billion up till 2030 for data centers. This, they say, is driven by AI workloads, cloud growth, and data localization. I'd like to ask you, what do you think are the biggest risks involved, or rather associated with data center development in India?
See, I feel data centers' biggest risk is actually technology backed.
Okay.
It rests on infrastructure.
Yes.
And it is technology backed. That means technology is its user.
Right.
Correct? So with any technology, you don't know when there can be a sudden breakthrough in technology, which might change the economics of a data center, maybe.
Okay.
You understand? Whether you need lesser server space, lesser power, lesser water, or whether, you require a different type of a technology. It's like how over time we have seen the chips becoming smaller,
Yeah.
PCB boards shrinking. So that sort of a technology's change will then really threaten the underwritten economics of a earlier erstwhile data center. A newer one might be in a different avatar.
Okay.
So I think one should be careful of that.
Okay.
Though you can say I can change technology and adopt the new technology, it might not be easy to depreciate the old technology so rapidly, whatever you have already put it as servers and racks. So in any technology-driven thing,
Yes.
like today, I think one of the biggest problems which most technology users face is what they would call the migration from the legacy systems
Right.
to adopting the new age sort of AI tools or any sort of a new age breakthroughs in technology. So that is always going to be a threat to data centers also.
Okay.
Though from the real estate point of view,
Yes.
because that's a threat to the operator.
Right.
From a real estate point of view, it is the ability to get the power and the water, even though you might have got the land. And that, as I said, can also pose a threat in the point of view of environment.
Correct.
You understand? Tomorrow somebody might protest about the amount of water you're consuming or the power you're pulling, or if there's a breakdown in the grid or anything, because you're actually keeping a lot of redundancy power to the extent of 2x most of the time.
Oh, that's
Which you're
interesting.
keeping there, because you're just saying that it cannot stall for any moment.
At any moment, yeah.
I think what will happen is certain things have to be critical. Is like, I don't know whether tech is looking at it, I'm sure they're doing, but from a layperson's point of view, is WhatsApp data as important as Aadhaar data?
Sure. Yeah.
You understand? I might need Aadhaar data and verification and KYC at any given point of time.
Right.
But do I need WhatsApp data? If it goes down by 10 minutes, what will happen?
Right.
You understand? So I think you need to classify data as to what is supercritical, what is absolutely essential, what is necessary, what is comfortable, sort of a thing. So, but I think today everyone's data they pretend is absolutely essential, and that I think is a little bit tricky, because it can't be. A 15-year-old's data of all his social chats cannot be as important
Right.
as somebody who is constructing something and he needs the data for going further in his progress.
Power availability is often flagged as a major concern. How serious is the risk in the next 5 years?
The risk is serious because you can generate power.
Okay.
But can you transmit power and distribute power? Because the T&D systems, not only ours, in most of the countries, it needs overhauling. You need a lot of infrastructural capex to strengthen the T&D, what we call.
Okay.
Otherwise, there will be leakages, there will be breakdowns, there will be grid failures.
Right.
So I think we need to invest a lot in T&D, not just in generation.
Okay. So it's more distribution and transmission.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you think water use and sustainability concerns will impact long-term viability of these projects?
It will impact definitely in a very big way,
Right.
because we are definitely going towards a water scarce era.
Right.
And water will be extremely valuable commodity which we need.
Right.
And to be using that up, we have to see where we need to prioritize. You understand? So I think there will be a clamor. As I told you, the data has to be classified first and paid for accordingly, because everybody cannot say his data is equally important.
Right.
So you take that much power and water just to maintain my data. as I said, which might not be that critical.
Right. So here the government would have to step in to ensure that...
I think government, technology, users, I think you need a lot bigger, like a think tank to understand and how do we classify data. What is important? Banking data is important.
Right.
Money is important. Property data is important. Social media data, is it important?
Yeah.
Then we have to think. I'm not saying you delete it, but does it need to have so much of power consumption
Right.
so that there is no redundancy that your Instagram doesn't go down for a minute?
Currently, data center projects, like we mentioned earlier, are largely concentrated in tier 1 cities. We have Mumbai and Chennai. What is the scope of development in tier 2, tier 3 cities?
See, they can be developed wherever we are doing. It can also be an hub and spoke sort of a thing where you will have edge data
Right.
centers, as I told you. Everything need not be hyperscale.
Correct.
So they will come up and we might have to disperse it a little. It cannot be cluttered very strongly.
Yes.
So I see that it's going to evolve a completely new system of how it will come up. You know, like airports, hubs and spokes. We'll have to think through this whole thing. Because if Google has put up a massive data center in Visakhapatnam,
Yes.
then they'll have to think of how do they land their submarine cables there also.
Right.
You understand? It cannot be being pulled from Chennai or from Bombay, that's
Right.
for sure. So I think that it's evolving.
But we have a lot of coastline in India.
Correct.
So
So it can evolve there. Whether it is tomorrow, it might be a Cochin or a
Yeah.
Bangalore, wherever it can come in and wherever you're putting it. Or even in the hinterland, as I told you, you can try and a hub and spoke sort of a thing.
So if we're being optimistic, we can see the emergence of a lot more markets, a lot more demand in areas that previously didn't see a lot of...
Yes, they can
traction.
be, but it requires power, water, and that landing.
Provided the infrastructure is in place. Okay. Could rising costs and or changing policies render data center projects financially unviable?
See, the problem I think is we are not paying the right price for technology. We don't realize it.
What do you mean by that?
Do you pay anything for your Gmail?
No, it's free.
See, for personal. Do
Yes.
you pay anything for your WhatsApp?
No.
So somebody will make you pay for it at one time.
Right.
You understand? So if you're not paying, that means it's being subsidized somewhere.
Right.
Somebody is waiting and says your data is the price you're paying. But when they realize your data is not that important to them, they'll tell you might as well pay.
Right.
Not by data, but by hard currency.
But there's also an argument like in a country like India that's so price sensitive, like you mentioned about the WhatsApp users, do you really see people continuing to use WhatsApp if they have to pay for it?
Yeah, because he's not realizing that his WhatsApp usage is also using up his water. Have you thought about that?
Right. Is there a risk of oversupply if too many developers enter the sector simultaneously?
Of course, see, that is a market risk. Everybody thinks he's going to put up a data center. It has a good sort of a yield, as we discussed initially. You will get it.
Right.
Later on, it comes down. It happened in warehousing, logistics. It'll happen in data centers also. So the ones who are more prudent, who are more careful, who do their due diligence much better, will survive. Those who have rushed in, they'll naturally fall by the wayside.
So the market risk is, it can be comparable to any other sector.
I would assume so. Every market has that problem.
Okay. Lastly, looking ahead, what is the future of data centers in India look like for developers and even investors?
See, I would tend to believe data centers will be a very essential part of business real estate.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it. And they will be localized, they will be country specific, and there will be a big price to pay for those data centers.
All right.
And people will have to pay the price. You will not be able to avoid it.
Okay.
That's the way I look at it.
Right.
And when people start paying the price, whether they'll squeal, and you will log out of your social media accounts or other accounts quickly, or you'll continue paying for it, it'll remain to be seen.
Okay.
As to whether you get addicted to data or whether you get addicted to some other thing.
All right.
But it is being driven by data addiction at the moment, if I can say so as a concluding remark.
You've left us with something to think about. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.